Every 4 years, the same debate fires up the football world. Does winning at the absolute highest club level, we're talking the Champions League, actually help your country win the World Cup? It's a question that gets argued about constantly, but today we're going to try and settle it. We're going to let the data do the talking.
We are putting on our football boots and jumping right into the high-stakes, high-pressure world of international soccer.
And we've been handed a really fascinating body of research here. It all focuses on, well, the ultimate competitive measure.
Mm-hmm.
Can we actually quantify what it takes to succeed at the FIFA World Cup?
That's right. Our mission today is pretty laser-focused. We're analyzing sources that investigate that ultimate question of sports development strategy.
Which is?
Does a nation's count of players who reach the absolute pinnacle of club competition, the UEFA Champions League semi-finals or finals, does that number actually predict how well they'll do at the World Cup?
This deep dive is so timely. I mean, with the 2026 World Cup heading to North America, this debate is hotter than ever.
Especially for the U.S., right?
Yes, exactly. For the U.S. Federation, for Canada, for Mexico. Should they be investing heavily in their domestic leagues? Or is the smarter, maybe faster route to encourage their best young talent to go to those elite European academies, the ones that are always in the UCL?
It really is the ultimate strategic decision. So we're going to test that core belief. Does big game experience, the kind you only get playing for, say, a Real Madrid or a Manchester City, in a huge semifinal matter more than raw talent that's been nurtured at home?
So the researchers, they approach this by merging 16 years of data. That spans 5 World Cups, from 2002 all the way through 2018.
And they left out the 2022 World Cup on purpose.
They did. That was a very deliberate choice. I mean, they built their models on the past to create a true out-of-sample test case. They were basically asking, if this relationship holds up, what would we have predicted for 2022?
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we get to any predictions, we really need to clarify the two sort of distinct football universes that we're trying to connect here.
Right. So you have the club side, which is our predictor, and then you have the national side, which is our outcome.
Okay.
On the club side, the UCL is the measuring stick for elite experience. But we're not just counting every player who participated. The bar is set extremely high.
How high?
We are only counting the players grouped by their nationality who made it all the way to the semifinal or the final of the Champions League.
Wow. Okay. And then the outcome is just the World Cup.
The World Cup, where player pools are, fixed by citizenship.
Yeah.
The research simply used the final tournament rank, so first to 32nd. A higher number means a better finish.
Right.
And the foundational assumption here is, well, it's crucial for the entire project. They assume that the pressure, the tactical intensity of a UCL semifinal, that it realistically transfers, that it translates into a performance advantage when those same players rejoin their national teams for the World Cup. It's a direct link.
Okay, let's get granular on the data sample, because this part really highlights the massive global disparity in talent access.
It really does.
We're looking at 5 tournaments, 32 teams each. That's, 160 team years of observation. But the incredible part is what they called the Zero Challenge.
It is so stark. When they looked at those 160 observations, they found that only about 28% of the teams,
Just 28%.
just 46 in total, had even one UCL semifinalist in their World Cup squad.
So you're telling me that 114 teams, the huge majority, had 0 players who hit that elite threshold?
0. That's the key. That zero count captures all those, underdog nations, the ones that qualify through sheer effort, but whose best players just aren't plugged into that elite European pipeline. And that's a crucial starting point for the whole analysis.
So before they even ran any complex stats, what did that initial visual, the scatter plot, what did it immediately tell them about this elite talent gap?
It gave them one of the clearest initial conclusions of the whole study, really. You can break it down into 3 key insights.
Okay, let's start with that massive group, the 114 teams with 0 elite players.
Right. That's key insight 1, the random zone. For any team where X equals 0, the World Cup outcome was almost entirely random.
No.
Totally. They finished anywhere from the top 8 to the absolute bottom. And what's fascinating here is why.
Okay.
If you don't have a core of players who are used to that high-stakes UCL pressure, your performance becomes, super reliant on things you can't control.
Like the luck of the draw.
Exactly. The draw, a bad refereeing decision, an injury to your one domestic star. Your whole tournament could be over. Without that core of UCL-level leaders, they just lack the baseline consistency to get through the group stage reliably. You might get lucky, or you might just collapse.
So that zero is a real double-edged sword. But what happens once you cross that threshold, once you have even one elite player?
Well, that's what brings us to key insight 2, the barrier to failure, as you move across the chart to countries with 6, 7, 8 elite players. All that randomness just vanishes.
And the teams are just clustered at the top of the rankings.
Tightly clustered, they simply stop failing.
They stop failing.
Yeah, they do. The data shows this incredibly powerful floor. And the most remarkable detail is that across all 16 years of data, no country with more than 8 elite players ever finished in the bottom half of the World Cup.
Never. So 8 players basically guarantees you safety. That is an incredible statistical safety net.
It's a safety net, but it's not a golden ticket. And we have to acknowledge the big outlier, which the sources point out.
Spain in 2014.
Spain's famously disastrous title defense in 2014. They were packed with UCL champions, but they crashed out in the group stage.
So what does that tell us?
It shows that while elite experience sets the floor, and it eliminates a lot of that external risk, internal factors, poor coaching, squad harmony, politics, can still completely trash your ceiling.
That's a great piece of context. But despite that one collapse, the overall trend key insight 3 was still overwhelmingly positive.
Oh, absolutely. The general upward slope of the line confirms it. More elite players correlate directly with a better World Cup performance.
The visuals are strong, but I'm guessing they didn't stop there.
No, they wanted to know if the pattern holds up under fire. So they built 2 distinct models, because success at a World Cup is really a 2-step process. First, survival, and then advancement.
Right, so let's dig into that first model, the survival model. It's asking, what's the minimum viable talent you need just to get to the knockout stage?
Yep. The model was designed to predict that binary outcome. You survive, or you're eliminated.
Oh.
And the results were pretty compelling. They correctly predicted group stage survival around 61% of the time.
Okay, 61% is good. But the real power is quantifying the contribution of one single player, right? If I'm a federation with limited resources, how much does adding just one UCL semifinalist move the needle on my odds?
A lot. The research determined that each elite player gives this massive boost to survival probability. If we translate the statistical findings into plain English,
Please do.
adding just one UCL semifinalist increases your team's probability of advancing to the knockout stage by approximately 23%.
23%. That's not incremental. That's transformative. That one player isn't just a star. They're like a statistical insurance policy.
Precisely. And here's where the analysis gets really interesting strategically.
Okay.
Does that 23% boost just keep going up indefinitely, or does it start to plateau?
Right. Once you hit, say, 4 players, are you just buying more insurance, or does the competitive edge keep growing?
The curve on the chart is very clear. The probability of reaching the knockout stage goes up dramatically with the first few players, but that initial boost is the biggest one.
So there's a point of diminishing returns.
For survival, yes. The first 3 to 4 elite players have the biggest, most cost-effective impact on your survival odds.
And why do you think that specific number 3 or 4 is the sweet spot?
It probably relates to the structure of a football team. I mean, 3 or 4 elite players can form a competitive spine.
A leader in defense, a midfielder, a forward.
Exactly. A spine that can impose their high-pressure experience on the crucial areas of the pitch. That provides the mental strength you need in those really tight group matches. Beyond 4, you're definitely improving your final rank, but you've already bought most of the group stage survival insurance you can get. Okay, so that sets the baseline for survival. Now let's talk about the second model, the performance rank model, which quantified just how much better a team finishes.
This was a linear model, and it was remarkably clean. The relationship between the count of elite players and that final rank score was almost a direct one-to-one mapping.
Give us the hard number.
The research showed that each elite player is associated with roughly 1 additional rank higher in the final standings.
So 1 player equals 1 rank better.
Pretty much. 1 UCL semifinalist typically translates into a 1-place improvement in the World Cup overall ranking.
That is a measurable, powerful formula. If you want to move from, say, 16th place to 8th, you need about 8 of these players.
But they also included another predictor in that model, didn't they? And it kind of overshadowed everything else.
Ah, yes. We're talking about the incredible power of playing at home. The single most significant predictor of success wasn't elite talent. It was the host nation factor.
And how big was that advantage?
Enormous. Just being the host nation added 8.08 points to a team's performance score.
Let's contextualize that. So 1 elite player equals roughly 1 rank improvement. That means the host advantage is statistically the same.
Having 8 elite players just added to your squad.
Wow.
That's the raw power of home field. It suggests that the mix of favorable draws, fan support, familiar stadiums, less travel. It's a superpower. It's equivalent to stocking your roster with Champions League semi-finalists.
So go USA for 2026. We might not need 8 superstars if the crowd noise can do the job for us.
Well, 8 points is massive, but we have to remember the data set starts in 2018. As World Cups get more global and travel gets easier, you have to ask, is that extreme host advantage sustainable?
Is it a diminishing return?
It could be. The data says it's huge. But the 2026 hosts can't just assume they have the equivalent of 8 superstars handed to them on a platter.
That's a great challenge to the assumption. Okay, so let's bring all these numbers together into the project's main synthesis, which the researchers called the Safety Net Theory.
This is really the definitive takeaway from all of this. Elite talent is not a golden ticket. It doesn't guarantee you win. We all know tournaments still need luck and momentum.
Right.
Instead, that elite experience acts as powerful insurance. It eliminates the downside risk.
It sets the floor, not the ceiling.
Exactly. We have to reiterate that critical rule. No country with more than 8 elite players ever finished in the bottom half of the World Cup in this data set. If your goal is just consistency, avoiding embarrassment, then securing that core group of UCL veterans is essential. It completely eliminates the risk of a group stage disaster that hits those teams in the random zone.
And this insight, it gives us a direct strategic recommendation, doesn't it? Especially for nations like the US, Canada, or Mexico.
It's all about optimizing investment. The biggest performance jump comes from getting those first 3 or 4 elite players. So the strategic advice is to focus your development money on exporting those top few young players to top Champions League clubs. That's where you maximize your return on investment.
So for the listener who just wants to size up the competition, this is your shortcut. You don't need a deep tactical dive. Just count the UCL semifinalists. That number gives you the floor for their performance.
It does, but we have to provide the necessary context and limitations here, which the sources were very clear about. And the core limitation is a big one, the Euro club bias.
Meaning the entire model relies on the UCL pathway to define what elite even means.
Correct. So it means the model is inevitably going to underrepresent world-class players who develop through other highly competitive competitions, like the Copa Libertadores in South America or the Asian Champions League.
So if a superstar from Argentina, say, dominates the Copa Libertadores but hasn't moved to a top European club yet, he doesn't count towards this metric.
He doesn't count. And that's the acknowledged weakness. The sources are clear that the model likely underestimates the true talent of nations like Brazil, Argentina, Nigeria, South Korea, Japan.
Right.
Whose players might be absolutely elite, but just aren't tied into that specific UCL semifinal pathway at that moment.
So what does this all mean? The UCL experience isn't the only way to become elite, but the data proves it's the most reliable, the most measurable, and a highly predictive pathway to ensuring success, or at least guaranteeing safety at the World Cup.
And we have one final data nugget that really reinforces how important this factor is becoming. An appendix findings show that the total number of Champions League semifinalists playing at World Cups has been steadily increasing over time.
So this specific experience is becoming an even more essential and maybe scarcer resource?
Exactly.
That is a phenomenal deep dive into the numbers behind big game performance. Thank you for helping us unpack the real value of that Champions League experience.
My pleasure. This is fascinating stuff.
So if that trend of more and more UCL players at the World Cup continues, and if that host nation advantage really is like adding 8 superstars, how will that play out in the newly expanded 2026 tournament? With even more teams in the mix, what will be the new minimum threshold of elite players just to survive the group stage then?
A truly fascinating competitive environment is definitely ahead of us.
That's something for you to mull over as you watch the next seasons of club football unfold. Until next time, stay well informed.